Okay, so now we're going to talk about a scenario. I've been throwing all these attacks at my opponent. I'm doing the gringo grip. I'm crossing his arm over. I'm attacking the whizzer. I'm doing it on the right. I'm doing it on the left. I'm throwing up triangles. A lot of things that we're doing is pulling, pulling, pulling. And so what people are going to start doing is they're going to start posturing as hard, and they're actually going to overdo it so much that's going to give me a great opportunity to really work that hip bump, that basic. Some people call it a white belt killer. Some people call it a hip bump. I usually call it a sit-up sweep. And anytime the guy leans back, I just want to follow him up and take him over.
That we've already talked about in the gringo grip.
We already talked about doing it off the gringo grip, and we're going to talk about, we'll review that just for a second, and then we'll talk about some of the options that I like to go to when people start throwing me some defenses to the sit-up sweep or the hip bump.
Perfect.
So, again, the way that I'm putting the material together basically is what's happening is I've tried to do the other stuff, and he is just so far back. So turn me sideways, please, Stefan. So what happens is he wants to lean so far back. A lot of times I can feel, we talked about it before, he's putting those toes down. His feet are flat. And he's sitting and he's leaning way back. He doesn't want me to pull him at all. So that's it's a great opportunity for me to come up and do that hip bump. And you can always refer back to the gringo grip section where we talked about, finishing that. One of the most common defenses to that is that I might lose a little bit of control of his arm and he's going to post his arm out. That's really common. Most people are going to go to Kimura. I am too. I'm going to talk about some details about finishing that. And then also a real common defense that big people have especially is they straighten their arm out. They just kind of like blast through it. I said it before, I'll say it again. A lot of times the theory is, well, my two arms are stronger than your one arm. But sometimes that isn't the case. People are so strong, their one arm kind of is stronger than my two arms. So I still have him compromised. He straightens the arm. I can kind of go to his back. So let's take a look at that, how that works. Let's reposition a little bit. Here we go. So again, he's leaning way back. He's exaggerating the action. He knows that I want to pull him down. I'm going to give a little swivel here, come back the other way, and I want to bump, and he just posts that hand out. So this hand is going to hop right to his wrist. So I still have my arm over his shoulder. I'm going to hop right to his wrist, and as soon as that happens, this hand is going to feed and catch my own wrist. 1, 2, and I'm trying to put my back on the mat. Once I get here, I see a lot of people just trying to push the arm and try to finish with just their arms. That might work, but I think a better way to do it is to adjust your position and use your whole body. So when I get here, I want to move my hip out and then my shoulder. And the way that I do that is by using my legs here. I want to move my hip and then my shoulder. And then I want to move my hip and then my shoulder. And now you can see, if you can just rotate a little bit, you can see how I'm at a side angle. And again, most people will just start to turn. One little thing that I do that I think really helps me personally to finish is I actually want to stretch my legs, and I want to pull his arm almost as if I'm trying to pull his shoulder out of socket. So when I get here, I trap his arm to my body, and I want to straighten, and I want to pull almost like his arm is coming out of socket. That kind of makes the joint loose, and then when I start to turn, there's a tremendous amount of pressure. And a lot of times when I'm explaining pulling the arm out, I've worked at a jiu-jitsu school for a long time, and we get a variety of different colorful type of people coming in. And a lot of times I get some people that are a little bit wacky or a little bit crazy. And for some reason I get a lot of people coming in and they want to tell me they've had grappling before, but they focus more on street style self-defense.
And they also can't remember who they trained with.
They definitely can't remember the person who gave them their black belt that they have. They trained for 10 years, but I can't remember the guy's name. Well, what school was it at? I never really paid attention.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I get that, And then a lot of those people, again, they want to tell me about how their style is more street style, and they're trying to kill people. I like to grab the head, and I want to break the neck, but I don't just twist it. I got to lift, and then I got to separate. But the key is you got to lift it up, and then you got to separate it. And that they're really that animated. And I mean, they're really excited about breaking people's necks. And it's pretty crazy. So when I talk about pulling that shoulder out of socket, we should tell that story as well. And I don't know if maybe subconsciously that's why I started doing that. I wanted to lift and separate the shoulder. Maybe that's what I was doing. But no matter where I got it from, I really feel like it helps me to finish the Kimura.
Lift and separate my shoulder one more time.
I will. Let's start kind of this way here. Yeah. So again, he's leaning back. He's exaggerating the motion. He's really worried about me getting control of his arm. You see how those feet switch? That really helps me to do this hip bump. I'm going to move. I'm going to come up. Boom. He posts. I'm here. I'm here. I want to lock him in. There we go. Now, I'm going to move my hip, move my shoulder. Move my hip, move my shoulder. So when I move my hip, my shoulder, I get kind of perpendicular to him. I like to lock my feet. And here comes the lift and the separate. So I'm going to straighten my legs like a scissor. And now, look, I'm leaning back. It's putting pressure already.
Oh, that hurts.
It kind of makes the joint loose in a way. It's kind of hard to explain. But I want to pull. And now when I turn, I get a much stronger effect. Now, I want to add to that, even when I do this correctly, or maybe if I forget one detail or I'm a little bit loose on my grip or something, people still do that power out. They want to stretch out. And when that happens, because I still have a good grip, one thing that I can do is as I feel that's happening, I want to lift it over my head and I want to come right here. And then once I get here, I can very easily, I like to kind of wrap this up, and I'm not really trying to choke him. I mean, if he tapped, I wouldn't be disappointed. But usually I just like this because I can grip him easier. If I'm here, I feel like it's looser, and he can correct his arm. Yeah. So I like to use this grip, not to squeeze, but to hold. And then again, I'm going to use that riding the bike motion that we talked about in the leg bind. So I'm going to kick, 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 and then I'm just going to keep working behind him until I'm on his back here. Very simple. And I'm going this way and attacking the neck. Just like in the leg bind, when I try to go for his back, people will push into you or they'll turn away. And one thing that people do here is they push back into you. As you try to get on your side to climb over, they make you flat. Well, when they do that, I just put a hook in and I'm going to sweep them over. Because I have the arm trapped, so let's say I was back here, I'm just like this. I'm lifting, I'm separating, but it's not working right now. So I go here, and I'm pulling with my legs as well. I get here. So as I'm starting to move out, he really runs me back down. No problem. I'm going to move my hip a little bit this way. I have the arm trapped. I put this in. I turn him over. And now I have a great position here. I might be able to finish the choke. I may have to dismount. And I want to squeeze. And I finish.